Welcome back to the deep end. If you are listening to this with the lights off, you might want to reach over and turn one on. Or if you're feeling brave, maybe keep them off. Because today we are going to a place that is, well, it's simultaneously very cozy and at the same time, absolutely chilling.
It is a strange combination, isn't it? We are looking at this very, domestic scene, a husband and wife in a living room that somehow becomes a portal to, well, everywhere else.
Exactly. We are diving back into the archives of consciousness, and specifically, we are cracking open the early sessions, Book 5 of the Seth material. We're zooming right in on session 205.
It's a great one.
It really is. But before we, start summoning spirits or questioning the very nature of reality, I have to do the official housekeeping. This deep dive will be distributed free of charge on all major platforms for educational purposes. We aren't selling you a philosophy, we are exploring a document.
And we should definitely credit the source. This material comes from the New Awareness Network. They are the ones doing the heavy lifting to keep these incredible archives in print.
Absolutely.
So if you find yourself staying up all night thinking about this stuff, and you probably will, you really need to go to sethcenter.com for the early sessions. Get the books.
Yeah, really. Consider this the trailer. The book is the whole movie. So session 205, set the scene for us. Where are we in space and time?
Okay, so we are in Elmira, New York. The date is November 3rd, 1965. It's a Wednesday.
1965. So no internet, no smartphones. I mean, if you want to know what someone is doing in another city, you have to call them on a landline or
do what they're about to do.
Exactly.
It's 9 o'clock at night. We're in the apartment of Jane Roberts and her husband, Ruburt Butts, who Seth, always calls Joseph. It's quiet. Jane is probably pacing a bit, maybe settling into her rocking chair. She's the medium, though she really hated that word.
Oh, she despised it.
And Rob is sitting there with a pen and a notebook, ready to write down every single word that comes out of her mouth.
And usually when we talk about this material, people want to jump straight to the woo-woo, They want the aliens or the big sweeping prophecies. But what strikes me about this specific session, and why I really wanted to do a deep dive on this one, is that it feels like a detective story.
It is a detective story, 100%. But the detective is a disembodied personality named Seth, and the clues are scattered all across the state of New York.
So we have a mission for this deep dive. We aren't just going to read the transcript. We're trying to understand a very specific mechanism. We want to get at the tension between the intellect, the part of us that does math and pays the bills, and this other thing Seth called vitality.
Or emotion, yeah. And we are going to see that play out in a very, very specific remote viewing test. It's called test number 14.
Test number 14, it sounds so official, like some kind of government experiment.
Well, it was an experiment, but a very private one. And the results, well, they include a wire waistbasket and a pair of rumpled sleeves that are, I have to say, going to haunt me for a while.
Stick around for the rumpled sleeves, everybody. It is wild. But before we get to the ghost in the machine, we have to talk about the vibe in the room. Because something had happened just a day or two before this session that completely changed the energy.
Right. Context is everything here. To understand November 3rd, you really have to look at what happened on November 2nd, Election Day.
Local politics. The high-stakes, nail-biting thrill ride of the Elmira mayoral race.
It sounds so mundane, doesn't it? But a few sessions before this, in session 203, Seth had made a prediction, a very clear one. He predicted that a man named Howard Kimball would be elected mayor.
Okay, so he calls the winner, and then on November 2nd, Howard Kimball actually wins.
He does. And this is where we get our first real taste of the dynamic between Jane, Rob, and Seth. You might expect Rob Jane's husband to be, doing a victory lap. My wife's ghost friend predicted the mayor.
Yeah, you'd think. But look at his notes. I have them right here. He's kind of a wet blanket about it.
He's the grounding wire. That's what he is.
He writes, and I'm quoting here, since there were two candidates, any guess had a 50-50 chance of being right.
It's just brutal honesty, isn't it?
It is. He's sitting there documenting this completely impossible phenomenon, and his first reaction is, well, statistically, it's just a coin flip.
But I think that skepticism is so vital. It's what makes this whole thing credible. Rob isn't a cult member. He's a reporter. He wants this to be real, but he absolutely refuses to suspend his critical faculties.
So he acknowledges the win, but he flags the probability.
Exactly. It tells us that these people are not delusional. They are testing this as rigorously as they possibly can from their own living room.
So they have this hit, as they call it, under their belt. But then Jane just Jane herself, not Seth, starts having these weird feelings.
This is what you call the bleed through.
Yeah. I mean, usually you think of a seance or a channeling session as this, contained event. You open the circle, you do the spooky talk, you close the circle, and then you go make a sandwich.
Right. It's supposed to have a start and an end.
But Jane's experience just completely contradicts that. The day before this session, she had, and these are her words, a peculiar, heavy sense of premonition.
Heavy. That's a physical description, isn't it? It's not just a thought.
It is. She says it lasted for about 3 hours. It wasn't some fleeting idea. It was a mood. It was a weight. And she felt it was somehow connected to John Bradley, a man they know, who Seth calls Philip.
So she's just walking around her apartment doing her, 1965 housewife things. And she's carrying this 3-hour load of anxiety that she feels belongs to someone else.
And then, just as suddenly, it lifted. But it really sets the stage. It tells us that the channel isn't a radio you can just turn on and off. It's more like, I don't know, a window that's slightly stuck open.
There's a draft coming in all the time.
That's a chilling thought. You're never quite alone in your own head.
It is. So armed with this premonition and the election success, they sit down at 9 p.m. on Wednesday. Seth comes through. And the very first thing he does is address the letter they just received.
The letter from Dr. Instream.
Yes. Dr. Instream is a researcher they were corresponding with. He'd written a very brief note. They'd received it just the day before. And it basically just said, keep doing what you're doing.
Simply continue as we are going. It's validation, right? A man of science giving them the thumbs up.
It is validation, absolutely. But Seth uses it as a springboard to kind of lecture Dr. Instream. And this is where we get into the real meat of the philosophy.
Yeah.
Because Seth has a bone to pick with how scientists and just people in general try to test ESP.
He starts talking about the intellect. Now, I'm a fan of the intellect. It helps me balance my checkbook. It helps me, drive a car.
And Seth agrees. He's not anti-intellectual at all. He says, quote, the intellect is highly important.
Okay.
But, he says, it has little to do, however, with the framework within which our tests take place.
Okay, let's unpack that a little. Why is being smart a problem for being psychic?
Well, it's not about being smart. It's about the function of the intellect. The intellect is an analytical tool. Its whole job is to take reality, chop it up into little boxes, label them, and file them away. It judges. It differentiates. It says, this is A, therefore it cannot be B.
It's the editor.
It's the critic.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, imagine you are trying to do something purely spontaneous, like improvising a jazz solo.
Or serving a tennis ball.
Perfect example. If you were serving a tennis ball and your intellect kicks in and says, okay, now engage the tricep, rotate the wrist precisely 30 degrees, check the wind speed, what happens?
You shank it straight into the net. Every time.
You choke. Because the intellect is just too slow and too rigid for the flow of that action. Seth is arguing that ESP perception beyond the senses is fundamental biological spontaneous act. If you try to think your way through it, you're just putting a wall up.
He uses the word game.
Yes. He says, the idea of a game will indeed work more to our advantage.
I love that. Because when you play a game like, I don't know, charades, you aren't stressed out. You're laughing. You're guessing. You're loose.
And that looseness is the whole key.
Yeah.
Seth says, when Ruburt, that's Jane, when Ruburt tries too hard, he often blocks material by losing spontaneity. The effort itself is the blockage.
It's kind of like the observer effect from physics, isn't it? By staring at the phenomenon too hard, you change it. Or in this case, you just stop it cold.
Precisely. And this leads him to the big terminology shift. Seth wants to replace the word emotion with something else.
Vitality.
Vitality.
Why the rebrand? I mean, emotion seems fine to me.
Well, think about it. Emotion is a loaded word, especially in the 1960s scientific community. Emotion is seen as, hysterical or unscientific or subjective. If you tell a scientist you need to be more emotional to do this experiment, they will laugh you right out of the lab.
Right. Leave your feelings at the door.
Exactly. They want objectivity. So Seth uses vitality. It implies life force. It implies energy. It sounds more fundamental, almost like electricity.
And he gives this very clear instruction. Feel toward us rather than think at us.
Feel toward us rather than think at us. It's so profound.
I kind of want to put that on a t-shirt, but what does it actually mean? How do I think at someone?
I think thinking at someone is aggressive. It's probing. It's, tell me the answer. What is in the box? Prove it to me. It's a demand for data.
And feeling toward.
It's receptive. It's about opening a door. It's sympathetic resonance. It's like You want to tune a guitar string to another guitar. You don't hit it. You pluck the other one and let the vibration carry across the space.
That makes perfect sense. It's about resonance, not force.
And he applies this to the test objects, too. He says if the objects used are those to which you are emotionally attached, this will also be of some considerable help.
So if Dr. Instream wants to test Jane, he shouldn't just grab a random stapler from the supply closet.
Correct. A random stapler has no vitality. It has no psychic charge. But if he uses his grandfather's watch or a toy from his childhood,
then that object is glowing with emotional energy. It's like a beacon.
it's the difference between a dead wire and a live wire. Seth is basically saying that consciousness connects through meaning, not just through physical proximity.
Okay, so the theory is set. Don't think, play, use vitality, use objects with meaning. Now, Seth starts doing a little pregame warm-up. He starts listing all the times they got it right in the past.
He's stacking the deck. He's building confidence. He knows, and he says it later, that Jane's confidence is often the weak link in the chain. So he reminds them of the hits.
Let's run through a few of these because they are just so oddly specific. The Jesuit and the cat liver.
Yes. This was from a previous session. Seth had mentioned a $3 cab fare.
Which, in 1965, that's a decent chunk of change for a cab ride.
It is. And at the time, the sitters, the people who were there testing Jane, they thought it was wrong. They thought the fare was too high. They doubted it. But later, it was verified. It was exactly $3.
Take that, skeptics.
And then there was the right-hand turn. Just a specific navigational detail that turned out to be completely correct.
And what about the Gallagher experience?
This one was really impressive. Jane described the location where a couple, the Gallaghers, had stayed. And she didn't just say, a hotel. She described the environment, the feeling of the place, with accuracy.
And our friend John Bradley, or Philip, as Seth calls him.
Seth predicted a raise for him. And he accurately described another salesman that Bradley worked with.
So why does Seth do this? Is he just bragging, look how cool I am?
I don't think it's ego. I think it's calibration. He's showing them the pattern. He says, there is an emotional rapport set up, of course, within some time that exists between these persons.
So he's reinforcing his own theory.
Yes. He's saying you got these right because there was a real connection between the people involved. It wasn't just random data.
So confidence is high, the theory is sound, and now we move to the main event.
Test number 14.
It's 10 o'clock at night. The notes say Jane is smoking. She's sipping wine.
Which is just such a great detail. It's so human.
It is. It's so unholy. You expect incense and fasting and chanting, but she's just having a glass of red and a cigarette.
It grounds the whole thing. It makes it gritty and real.
So Rob notes that Jane sits with her head down. She puts her hands up to her eyes,
shielding her vision,
going inward. And then silence. Long pauses. She is trying to see Dr. Instream. Now keep in mind, Dr. Instream is not in the room. He is miles and miles away. And Seth starts to narrate what he sees.
This is where it gets chilling. He starts with the demeanor. He is more relaxed.
Okay, that's pretty generic. Could be a lucky guess.
But then he looks at a watch, a round one.
Getting warmer.
And at this little detail. It seems to be the kind to which a chain was once attached.
Ooh, wow. That's a very specific detail, like a pocket watch. Or maybe a watch that's been converted.
It implies age. It implies a history to the object.
Then he looks at the clothes. He has a white shirt on.
Standard for a professional in 1965. Still could be a good guess.
The collar seems to be open.
So he's relaxing. The picture's getting clearer.
But then he gets to the sleeves, and this is the detail that just blew my mind. I want to read the quote exactly as Rob wrote it down. The sleeves rumpled somehow toward the cuffs in a noticeable fashion.
Rumpled, not rolled.
And he clarifies. Not completely rolled up, for example, but perhaps partially.
Just stop and think about that for a second. If you're faking a psychic reading, what do you say? You say, he is wearing a white shirt. Or maybe, if you're feeling bold, he has his sleeves rolled up. Those are standard states of being.
Right, it's binary. The sleeves are either up or they're down.
But rumpled. Rumpled is a state of, elegant chaos. It implies he just pushed them up without unbuttoning them, or maybe he's been fidgeting with them. It captures a texture, a specific momentary state.
It's like high-definition viewing. It's not a symbol of a man. It's a visual transmission of a specific configuration of fabric.
Exactly. It implies that Seth isn't just knowing about Dr. Instream. He is seeing him. Like he's perceiving the actual light bouncing off the folds of the cotton.
That is absolutely wild. Okay, so we have the rumpled sleeves, then the environment. He sits down by a dark desk.
And then the wastebasket.
Oh, the wastebasket. This is my other favorite part.
Seth says, A waste paper basket with wires, perhaps crisscrossing wires.
A wire mesh basket.
Now, in 1965, sure, wire baskets existed, but solid metal bins or wicker baskets were also very common. But Seth gets even more specific about the shape.
The top of the basket coming out in some sort of an arrangement that resembles the top of a flower pot.
You know exactly the shape he means. It flares out at the rim.
Like a tulip.
Yes. So he's got the material wire crisscrossing and the geometry a flower pot shape.
And then he just gets a word. Wisteria.
This is so fascinating.
Yeah.
He doesn't say, there is a wisteria plant on the desk. He says, I think of the word wisteria.
Right. He's very clear about the distinction.
He creates a separation between the visual data, which was the basket, and the mental association, which is the word.
What could wisteria even mean?
I mean, it could be anything. Maybe Dr. Instream lives on Wisteria Lane. Maybe he was just thinking about his garden. Maybe his wife wears a wisteria perfume.
Or, and this is what I think, maybe the crisscrossing wires at the basket just reminded Seth of the twisting vines of a wisteria plant.
That is a very strong possibility. The visual pattern triggered a word association in his own mind.
It shows the mechanism of the mind, doesn't it? It's like a Rorschach test. Seth sees the wires, his mind goes vine, and he says, wisteria.
And he reports it as such. He doesn't claim it's a physical object in the room. He reports the data stream, honestly, with the caveats included.
Then Seth senses a question. He says, he seems to be asking me a question. Does it have to do with music?
So now we're moving from remote viewing to telepathy. He's picking up a mental inquiry.
And then it's right back to visuals. An ornament that is heavy, dark green, almost greenish black.
A very specific color and a specific weight.
Heavy. The weirdest part of the whole night. The math problem.
4 and 4 are 8.
Seth says 4 and 4 are 8. I do not know to what this refers.
This is my absolute favorite part of the entire session.
Why? It's just simple math. It seems so random.
Because it's nonsense, that's why. If you are a fake psychic, you tell a story. You create a narrative that makes sense to the listener. You say, I see a dark man with an important message about your mother's finances. You don't just say 4 and 4 are 8.
It's too random. It doesn't mean anything.
It's raw data. It's like you're tuning an old analog radio and you catch a tiny snippet of a broadcast. You hear 4 and 4 and it's static. You have no idea what the context is. Was Dr. Instream looking at a ledger? Was he counting the change in his pocket? Was he helping one of his kids with their homework?
Or was he just thinking about numbers for no reason?
I don't know. And the key is, Seth admits he doesn't know. I do not know to what this refers. That admission of ignorance is, paradoxically, a huge marker of credibility. He is just reporting the signal, even though the signal makes absolutely no sense to him.
He's a faithful scribe. He's not editorializing the data to make himself look better.
Exactly.
He finishes up with 2 more quick hits, an oval mirror, and he specifies oval rather than absolutely round, long and oval.
Again, he's correcting the geometry in real time, refining the data.
And finally, I think of a missionary.
A missionary? Another one like wisteria? Just a thought that pops in?
And that's it. Test over.
Just imagine being Dr. Instream receiving this report in the mail a week later.
I know. You're reading through this transcript and you see rumpled sleeves. Check. Wire basket with a flower pot top. Check. 4 + 4 = 8. And you just freeze. Because that's the moment you realize someone was watching you when you thought you were completely alone.
It creates a real sense of vulnerability, doesn't it?
It does. It's intrusive. It feels like a total invasion of privacy.
But it's also deeply intimate. It implies that our private reality, our inner world, it broadcasts a signal, whether we want it to or not.
So the test ends. And we have to talk about how the session wraps up. Because usually after something as heavy as that, you'd expect everyone to just be completely exhausted.
And Jane is exhausted. She's been in a deep trance. She's been traveling miles away with her consciousness. Rob is tired. His hand is probably cramping from writing shorthand for an hour.
But Seth
is ready to go to the club.
He literally says he feels frisky.
Quote, I feel quite frisky if you two do not.
That is just such a funny image. You have this profound, ancient, non-physical teacher.
Yeah.
And he's using slang like frisky.
It suggests that the act of communication, that vitality we were talking about earlier, it actually energizes him. He sort of feeds on the connection.
But he does respect their limits.
Oh, he does. He says, I would continue it. But our last session was a long one. He's being polite. Then he predicts another short story sale for Jane because he's always looking out for her writing career.
He's a good agent.
The best agent you could ask for. And then he signs off.
Before he goes, though, he drops a little teaser. a coming attraction for the next session.
The dream recorder.
What is that all about?
He mentions a new experiment involving a recorder, presumably a tape recorder, to capture dreams. He says, there is some material I would like to give concerning the examination of dreams.
So, like, speaking your dreams out loud while you sleep, or recording them the second you wake up.
I think probably immediately upon waking, to catch the vitality of the dream before the intellect wakes up and crushes it.
Of course. It fits the whole theme of the night. Catch the raw data before the editor gets to it.
Exactly. And he even gives them sensible advice. He says, there is no need to try the experiment night after night. 3 nights out of a week should be sufficient.
Sensible advice from the beyond. Don't burn yourself out.
So we have reached the end of session 205.
We survived the deep dive.
We did.
Barely.
So let's try to synthesize this. We have a lot of data points. We've got wire baskets. We've got rumpled sleeves. We've got 4 + 4 = 8. What does it all mean? What is the takeaway for the person listening to this on their commute right now?
I think there are really 3 distinct layers to this.
Okay. Layer 1 is the method. If you want to access your own intuition, your own psychic potential, you have to bench the intellect. You cannot think your way into a hunch. You have to play. You have to treat it like a game. You have to find that vitality.
Stop trying so hard. Feel toward, don't think at.
Correct. Layer 2 is the validation. We have to look at the hits. The fact that Seth could see the specific rumpled nature of a shirt sleeve miles away tells us that consciousness is not local. It is not trapped inside your skull. It can travel. It can perceive things at a distance.
It completely breaks the materialist model of the world.
It shatters it. And layer 3, I think layer 3 is the humanity of it all. This isn't happening in some temple in the Himalayas with robed monks. It's happening in a messy apartment in upstate New York with wine and cigarettes and fatigue. It tells us that this magic, this potential, is accessible. It's part of the furniture of everyday life.
It's right there in the living room with us.
It is.
You know, I keep thinking about that wastebasket.
The wire one.
Yeah, and the sleeves. It's such a mundane thing to see. If I were a ghost with cosmic vision, I'd want to see, like, secret government documents or the nuclear launch code.
Right, something important.
But Seth sees the sleeves. He sees a random math problem. He sees the trash can.
Maybe that's the point. Maybe the message is that nothing is too small to be known. Every detail matters.
And that leads right into my final thought for the night, the provocative nugget.
Lay it on us.
We spent this whole hour talking about Dr. Instream. He thought he was alone in his office. He took off his suit jacket. He rolled up his sleeves messily. He did some simple math in his head. He looked at his trash can. He thought those tiny, insignificant moments were private. He thought he was completely unobserved.
But he wasn't.
He was being broadcast. His rumpled sleeves were being described in real time by a woman in a trance in Elmira, New York.
It completely changes the definition of privacy, doesn't it?
It does. And it makes you wonder, right now, as you're listening to this in your car or in your kitchen, who is watching your sleeves? Who is seeing your wastebasket?
4 and 4, 8.
Are we ever really alone? I really don't think so.
I don't think so either.
On that happy paranoid note, thank you for diving deep with us.
It was a pleasure, as always.
If you want to find out what happens with that dream recorder or what Seth says next, you know where to go. It's sethcenter.com/timemission. Go support the work, read the books.
And remember, feel toward, don't think at.
We'll see you next time.